during our lifetime. We don't know how many it will be, probably impossible to count. Some are slow, some are fast, some are deep, some are shallow. But at every breath, it's a conscious decision to be here, to be in your body, to experience. And to experience, you need to use your senses. You need to use your body. Whatever your perception is right now, it's purely a biological created reality, because you only have your eyes, your ears, your skin to feel the touch, you only have your senses to perceive the world. And whatever model you've built, whatever you think reality is, whatever you think about yourself or other people or the world, this is a culmination of all the breath you have taken, of all the sensory experience you have ever recorded, and the abstraction you've created from it, the model you've created from it, the algorithm you have run on this big amount of data, and the solutions you have gotten from that. So basically, the way I see life, there is the now. And the now, that is the single breath you're taking in this moment, signifying the experience of the moment. And then there are all the breath that you have taken up to this point, and all the sensory information you have recorded, and all the data you have extracted from those sensory information, all the models you have built from that data, which you call the world, or reality, or the truth, right? And then there are all the breath you have yet to take. And then slowly, you're moving forward. Be aware that this reality you have created, that is a pure, egocentric, based reality, which stems from the way you perceive the world. So, by definition, because every body is different, every eye is different, the way my eyes see the world, pure, just on a biological level, it is different from how you see the world. And the way that those little differences are played out is that they get stronger over time, right? Preferences in perception, they grow stronger. Why? Because, for example, let's say you are a safety-focused person, right? That means that you will have a bias in your perception to look for things that make you feel safe. Or you may look for things that are dangerous, right? Or you may look for things that make you happy, or things that you find beautiful. Because we can only interpret a very limited amount of the data that we receive from the world, we need that kind of focus. We need that kind of a lens in order to make sure that only those things that are important to us, that they come into our conscious focus. So even on the biological level, right, you can see that there are neurons for interpreting the world, right? There are neurons for seeing shapes, right? So the interpretation, it's not in the higher brain functions, but it is in the biology of perception itself in the senses, right? And that grows while we grow, and while we interpreted a very limited amount of data and we build a model from it, and our perception is kind of guided through that first model we build, and then we expand on that model, and we're not following we're not following a scientific method in perceiving the world and adjusting the model, right? Because the scientific method would be to build a hypothesis and then try to disprove it, right? So for example, we would build a model, the world is a dangerous place, and I might be hurt anytime. And so then we would go out and find ways to prove to ourselves, no, the world is a beautiful place, and it is safe, and I can be safe, and I can live a life of happiness and security. No, what we do is we kind of tend to prove our model of the world. And this means that whatever path we get started on, through biology, I guess, mostly. Because, I mean, that can be a little thing that can be like the stress hormone of your mother while she's pregnant with you, you know, giving you the predisposition to align your own hormonal system in a specific way that is more geared towards stress, or that's more geared towards sugary foods, or that's more geared towards something, right? So there's little difference over time. They grow, right? Let's stay with the breath we take. So with every breath you take, that model of the world kind of becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. Because you focus on things you deem relevant, not in a conscious way, right? But in an unconscious way, stemming from a system dynamic view. And this builds personality, right? So through the focus on perception and the model we create from that biased view, we become who we are. So we become happy people, we become trustful people, we become distrustful people, we become self-assured, we become aggressive, we become somebody. And this is also linked to the story we tell us about ourselves, right? Because from this full array of sensory information, we pick different parts of this information and we tell ourselves, oh, this is a meaningful event that is in line with my models of the world and with my models of myself, and okay, I see this as proof that I am like this, or the world is like this. Okay. Once you understand that you're biologically wired to develop in this way, first of all, let's not despair, because that's who we are. That's how we are. So let's work with what is. Let's work with what we have and see how we can use this. And I think this is a basic principle. You can never beat biology. You can never beat what is. You can only see what is and try to be clear about it. Try to shed your illusions, and then work from that point on. Everything new is created from this moment, from the now. What does that mean for our reality? Well, it means that the world we have, the view of the world we have, and the view that we have of ourselves, it's deeply egocentric, and also it means that there is no outer world. There is only an inner world. Okay, let me rephrase that. You have the perception that there is an outer world, meaning things you can touch, a cup you can hold, coffee you can drink, and you have the idea of an inner world, the feelings you feel, the thoughts you have, the memories you have, the dreams you have, the things you create that are not based on matter. But it is all the same. It is just electrochemical activity in your brain that makes you think of certain things as outside or inside. And for example, if you're in hypnosis, or if you're dreaming, or if you're using specific mental techniques in meditation, you become very aware that what's real and what's not real, that there isn't any difference really, right? Because it's all just in your brain. Okay? So everything you perceive as being real and in the outside world, it is just electrochemical impulses in your brain, triggering specific neurons, activating different parts of your models of the brain. And how you've built the model? Through perception. So let's assume for now that there is only an inner world, and that everything you perceive and everything you seem to know about the world, it is just inside of you. So what happens if there's more than one person coming together? Well, what they create is part of a shared reality, right? And that shared reality, I mean, that's the cause of so much suffering, because people try to create a shared reality where there's a big overlap. However, I don't believe that this is possible. I think that is well, there is something that just cannot happen, because any body is different. Any experience in the life, in the sum of the breaths we have taken up to this point, is so different that there can never be really a shared reality. Even the most basic things like watching a flower or listening to a conversation would appear so radically different to one person's to the other that we can just not comprehend how egocentric and unique our experience of the world is. So what do? Well, we kind of, in order to work together, in order to live together, in order to communicate and achieve things together, we try to come to a minimal understanding of realities that overlap. And this shared reality, I think, is grossly overestimated. Because if we say things something like big and small, good and bad, pretty much anything is already an abstraction of reality, of that sensory information. So any shared reality is based on this specifically egocentric and unique experience, and those words, they don't mean the same. However, it kind of seems to work, right? It seems to work. And I think it is part of an important social illusion. I think it works because we assume that it works. And by assuming that it works and then we share this kind of reality, it kind of works, right? And then you see that with things like nonviolence communication and clear communication and things you're trained as a psychologist or as a parent or as a trainer, moderator, coach, by really clarifying things and asking a lot of questions, why, what, how, what if, you can help this process of understanding. And you can make this shared reality, whereas it is, it is moving towards more like actionable situation, you can help that. The problem arises if okay, let me put it in a different way. So what you need to feel secure, what do you need to feel that this world is a place where you can be safe, that you can be in control. What does that depend on? Because if that depends on the fact that you need other people to agree to your story, that if you need other people to validate your reality, you have a problem. Why? Because you will fight for the shared reality, right? You will fight for kind of your interpretation of that shared reality. You will fight for your side of the story to be true. And it's in vain, because you cannot win this fight, and the more, the bigger the shared reality that you want to protect, the farthest it is away from your pure perception, the more energy you will need to spend on creating and maintaining that shared reality, which basically means that you will put a lot of your life's energy into an illusion, into a social illusion, that you will put your life's work into creating something that's basically meaningless to me. What could you do? You could, be okay with the fact that every reality is unique, that the way of seeing the world is profoundly different for everybody, and you could, try to find out what is the minimal overlap needed, what is the minimal shared reality of values or, things that you need to align with other people in order to do something, raise your kid, build a house, build a business, write a book, whatever it is. It doesn't make sense to try to come to a shared understanding of the world if nothing actionable is connected to it. Okay, so what can you do? Well, first of all, you can be okay with being unique. You can be okay and accept that your way of seeing the world, that this is the perfect way for you. You can start trusting yourself, because the way you perceive reality, it isn't more true or false or better or worse as any other of the unique perspectives. So you can come to this moment where, in this now, in this breath, where you accept everything that has happened, where you understand that any sensation for the breaths you've taken they have created you, your model of the world, your stories you tell yourself, and that this is okay, and that this is true, and this is absolute for you. And you can ask yourself, okay, am I happy with that reality? Am I happy with the stories I tell myself, with the way I perceive the world, with the way I see myself? Or do I want something to be different? Do I want to see myself in a different way? Are those thoughts and feelings helpful to me for living a good life, a purposeful life, a happy life, a fulfilling life, whatever you want, in your reality? A safe life, a controlled life, a rich life. And with the acceptance of the uniqueness of your perception and your model of the world comes the strength and the power to create that world, that inner world, exactly as you wish. Okay, let me repeat that. Because there is only an inner world, you have the potential to completely recreate that world as you wish. I didn't say it's easy, okay? I didn't say that there isn't a far stretch from the way you perceive things now to how you want them to be, but it is possible because it is just the wiring of your brain. And in understanding how you got to that point now, which is having sensory information and interpreting that sensory information and reinterpreting that sensory information and building a model, this is also how, starting from now, you can change that. You can change the way you perceive the world and yourself. And that is through new information, through new experiences. So, basically, you need to reverse engineer everything that has led you through this moment. Okay, so let's start at the end. Okay, let's start at the end. Let's start at the last breath you will take. And imagine that moment and ask yourself, the person you are during that last breath, who do you want to be? What is your truth about yourself, about the world? What are the key important stories that you tell yourself about the world and yourself? And what are the main emotions connected to it, the main, somatic markers that come with that interpretation? So, for example, that could be gratitude, that could be happiness, that could be a deep calmness and acceptance. And who do you need to be in order to experience those things, right? What kind of filters of the world, what kind of models of the world do you need to adapt in order to have this specific interpretation of the world as safe, secure, happy, and beneficial, and supplying you with everything you need? And once you know what kind of models will lead you through to becoming that person that you want to be, you need to ask yourself, okay, what kind of experiences do I need to have in order to develop that specific model? To give you an example, for example, if you are afraid of escalators, the best way to not be afraid of escalators is to ride escalators for a full day. To prove to your body, to add new sensory experiences where you're constantly riding escalators and you feel that your adrenaline and your bodily danger reaction to riding escalator is fading out, and you experience riding escalators and not dying, right? So that's from cognitive behavioral therapy, and this kind of changes your model of the world in order to give evidence. Okay, I'm riding escalator, not dying, and from that extracting a new model, which means like, okay, escalators are not dangerous, and also a different model where yourself are connected to that information, which could be I'm not afraid of daily things, right? I'm not a afraid person. I'm not a person avoiding things. I'm a person conquering my fear. So there's a lot of levels to that interpretation of the new sensory experience, right? And it will take time for you to, from just experiencing and not dying from riding escalators to, coming to the conclusion, okay, I'm a person in self-control who's facing my own fears and conquering the world. And also that interpretation, the more you move upwards from basic sensory information to more towards the story of your life and yourself, the more unique that story gets, right? And you will need a lot of different new sensory informations to build those higher meta models of the world and yourself, because maybe one instance is not enough, but you need to prove to yourself in a number of different situations that you have courage, right? That you're a good person. So make a list. Make a list for the next year, for the next month, for the next week, for today. What do you think are beneficial sensory experiences to reshape your model of the world? Maybe you want to relax more, right? Maybe it is your model of the world that you will always need to be of service to other people and you come last. So when you take that warm bath with some lavender oil and you give yourself a back rub with a nice thing, or whatever you do, or if you just sit 5 minutes, you look out of the window doing nothing, just taking time for yourself, you change who you are by adding that new experience. And in the beginning, this is hard. It's very hard. Because those things you will need, they are not the things that you are doing right now. It will be something different. And there will be probably a big emotional baggage connected to it. You might not feel good taking time for yourself. You might not feel good sitting down. You might not really feel good doing something for yourself. Or it might not feel good doing something for others, only for others because you want to do something good. But those are the experiences that will help you model yourself and your perception of the world. And one key ingredient is focus, because you don't just want this experience to just, pass by, but you can intensify the effect of fully experiencing that moment, which means being present in this moment. So let's say you're taking 20 minutes hot bath with some nice scented oils, and you're sitting there. Just go deep down to the most purest experience you can have and work your way up. Meaning, try to focus a few breaths, maybe 10 breaths, just on the smell. Then focus 10 breaths just on the feeling of the hot water on your skin. Take another 10 breaths, maybe of the sound the water makes when you put new hot water, when you add some more warm water. I wouldn't suggest tasting the water if you put some lavender oil in it, right? But just, stay with the sensory experience and try to make it as pure as possible by focusing on one sense at a time. Then switch to like a way of perception where you perceive everything at the same time, right? So all this, you try to take in the whole situation, the whole feeling of everything, smell and perception, and the warmth and the feeling of the water on your skin, where like everything at the same time. And then switch from focusing on one sense to switching on focusing to the whole perception of the situation, and also of you as perceiving this whole bunch of sensory information, right? It's a little bit like, imagine if you have a TV, and then in the TV control room, right? For example, there are like 20 live cameras, right? And then you usually see one, but the operator can see many, and then they can switch those live camera feeds to show you one, right? But they can also show you like a picture-in-picture, or they can show you 4 views at the same time. So this is, to me, this is a good mental image to be in the, video operator control room and seeing those different live feeds and switching between focusing on one feed and taking in the whole. And to me, what's very helpful is counting the breath in and out, in and out. And I usually do, my rhythm in this is 4 in, 8 out. Like just double out, as in like, so I take slow breath in and out. It's probably more important to be in a good flow, but it helps counting the breath while maintaining focus on one thing. Basically, this is a very simple way of meditation, focusing on the senses. So, and then when you have gathered all this new material, just leave it. Just leave it for your subconscious automatic processes to process it, right? To take it in. And that happens all the time, but that happens especially in sleep, in your REM phase. So whenever you want to change your model of the world, you will need to put resources into, helping your body realign connections. And that neuroplasticity happens a lot during sleep, because that is kind of the time of rewiring and changing things and working through things. And you can often experience this in your dream. Yeah, so you need to, if you want to walk that path of re-engineering yourself through sensory experience, you need to give resources to sleep. You need to make sure that neuroplasticity, rewiring your brain, can actually happen. So there could be a whole course be taught on that, and maybe I'm going to do that. But so things that help us get like 8 to 9 hours of sleep. It helps to go to the bed at the same time. Earlier sleep is more beneficial. Make sure you have a good deep sleep, meaning no light, a cool room, no distractions. That's basically it for sleep, I think, and make sure you have all the building blocks, especially proteins, that you need to build new connections, meaning stack on essential aminos. So basically eat good food, right? Eat fresh, healthy food with, well, I'm not going to go into food, although there's a lot to be said about what to eat, what not to eat. The rule is eat a lot of different things that don't have a barcode attached to it, right? Things that don't have a barcode, they're usually fresh, they're usually not processed, and they have more nutrients. If you eat a lot of different things like vegetables, fruits, nuts, eggs, whatever, cheese, if there's a wide variety, you're probably safe, fresh and without the barcode. And then there are some other things you can do for neuroplasticity, and that is sports, especially high intensity interval training. That's very good because it produces specific growth hormones that can help you. And relaxing, going out into the nature, having fresh air, having movement, taking time to put the stress down. Also very important to unwind before you go to sleep. So if you do all of that, and there's a lot to say about not just doing that once, but building habits that will allow you to continue that kind of cycle through the rest of your life. What you do is you're taking responsibility, not just for responsibility in the way of things in the outside world, but way more important, you're taking responsibility, because there is no outside world, to create your own reality, your own self-perception, to create your own personality, to create your own life. And if you build habits in your everyday life that help with this process of consciously creating new sensory information, adding to your database, that will change the model of the world and your self-perception to how you want it to be when you take your last breath. To me, this is the secret of taking full responsibility, of working with what you have to where you want to be. And if you have stayed with me until the end of this, I hope that today you can make a commitment. You can make a commitment to yourself of, not being a victim of what is happening to you from the outside, but to realizing that everything that is it is because on some level you have chosen it to be that way, and that you have the power, not in an instant, not like wishful positive thinking and now I manifest, everything has changed and bam, it's happening, not in this way, but by adopting a blueprint of consciously changing your perception of the world, thereby your model of the world, thereby the model of yourself, and changing those filters how you perceive reality, you'll ultimately change who you are, what you think, what you feel, how you act, and this will have an enormously big impact on your life, on your inner world, and through this it will also ultimately change the material world around you. It will impact everybody around you because you're connected through those shared realities. And when something changes in you, you cannot not change somebody else, right? Through those social, personal connections we have with each other. And this is my wish, and this is also my present to you, to empower you to take full responsibility and to take action to change what you think, what you feel, what you perceive, and who you are. Or to be just good with who you are and to realize that you are fine as you are, right? That's the starting point also, and the end point. I know it's paradox, but I hope from everything I have said, which is also my own experience, right? And my own perception of what is true. I hope you have taken something meaningful. And if this is just one thing you can put to use in your daily life, that makes me ultimately happy. Better to take just one little step from what I've said and turn it into action, than trying to comprehend the whole philosophy or my model of the world, right? So I'm ultimately thankful if you connect to me through an email, through phone call, through comment, and let me know how this information has impacted you and what you've taken from it, and what are your thoughts on this, and how are you using me, how are you using my experiences through that shared connection that we have to impact your life. My name is Martin Glennert, and I thank you for listening to me, and I thank you for taking responsibility for your own life and creating the best version of you possible. Thank you for becoming fully alive.